The Federal Reserve will meet again on November 7th. The big question at that meeting will be whether to cut interest rates by 0.5% or by 0.25%. In other words, they will cut rates. The only thing left to decide is how much. If you ask me, I would advise you to prepare for a 0.25% interest rate cut, and I'll explain why. If the Fed were to cut rates by 0.5%, they would undertake deeper rate cuts. Cuts in 3 scenarios. The first is if the labor market unexpectedly weakens. The second is if the economic data is poor, specifically the GDP. And the third is if there is a stock market crash. As you know, the stock market has not crashed. Rather, it is currently hovering around record highs. The government released the jobs report on Friday, showing that the economy added a net 254,000 jobs in September, exceeding expectations. This jobs data was the best since March, so there's no evidence that the labor situation is deteriorating. The White House published a statement complimenting the positive news about the labor markets because 254,000 new jobs added in a month is an exceptionally strong number. So, those are the labor market numbers as of right now about the economy. GDP growth at a rate of 3% is exceptionally robust, following the government's revision of the GDP from 2.8% to 3.0% in the second quarter. The Federal Reserve will implement a larger interest rate cut of 0.5% if necessary to stabilize the labor markets, the economy, or the stock market, but everything is reporting as good, so basically nothing needs to be saved. Instead, they will opt for a smaller interest rate cut of 0.25%. Now, let me show you the odds. Based on the CME FedWatch tool, the better-than-expected jobs report changed everything. A day before the jobs report was released, the market expected a 31.1% chance of a 0.5% interest rate cut and a 68.9% chance that they would opt for a 0.25% interest rate cut. You will be surprised by the odds following the reports, so take a look at this. A 0% chance that they cut rates by 0.5%, a 97.4% chance that they cut rates by 0.225%, and a 2.6% chance that they don't cut interest rates at all, okay? So simply put, since the economic data has been so good, recently a 0.5% interest rate cut in November is now off the table. So you can make the arguments that if everything is so good, then why are they going to cut interest rates at all in November? And I would tell you, well, that scenario is being reflected in the market expectations, but that's very low. It's set at 2.6%. Now, I want to show you, December, the Fed has a meeting on December 18th, and here are the odds. There's an 80% chance that the Fed will cut rates by another 0.25% in December. So the Fed funds interest rate is currently at 5.0%. If they cuts by 0.25% in November and another 0.25% in December, then that would bring the Fed funds interest rates down to 4.5%. Now, if you go to the Federal Reserve's websites, you can see their projections on what they're going to do. So just look for this, their projection materials. Now, in their summary of economic projections, go to their table, which will look like this. Now, let me zoom in for you, and you will see their projections in September. The Fed projected to lower interest rates by another 0.5% by the end of the year, and it looks like that's what they're going to do. The economic reports and the conditions are basically fitting their narrative, so it looks like they're going to execute their plan. So ultimately, what I'm saying is 0.25% interest rate cut in November and another 0.25% in December. Now, I do want to clarify these two things. So the first one is, if the economic reports come in bad, then they would have to cut interest rates deeper and more quickly. Well, basically to save whatever needs, saving the labor market, the economy, or the stock markets. And the second thing is that if inflation starts to re-accelerates, then that would cause the Federal Reserve to slow the interest rate cuts, or they would have to stop cutting interest rates completely. So the Federal Reserve changed to an easier monetary policy. Yes, this is inflationary, but it takes time for inflation to reappear, so we won't see inflation really accelerate the PC or CPI in 2024, because that would be too quick. All right, I want to clarify the situation for you and give you an update. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe and have a wonderful day for you and your family.